All right. We're going to get started. We have a lot to get through today. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jill Ransom. I lead marketing here at Adeptia, and I will be your host and your moderator today. We are recording this session today, so if you have to step away or you want to share it or take a look back at the webinar at a later date, we'll be probably sending that email out to you all sometime tomorrow. We do encourage participation. So if you have questions throughout, please type them into the Q&A box or the chat. We will try to get to them as we go. If we have time at the end, we will also follow up with any questions at the end. Rob, if you want to just go to the next slide for me. I have with me here today Rob Hartwig. He is a senior solutions architect here at Adeptia. Rob brings over 15 years of experience helping companies solve complex integration and automation challenges. He's going to be our main speaker today and walking us through a few things, why data quality is the biggest barrier to AI success, the role of agentic AI in data mapping, and he's going to walk us through some real world experiences and end with a live demo. So without further ado, actually, before we get started with Rob, we want to launch a quick poll and get some of your feedback. We'll take a little look at the data as we go throughout. Whoops, did it not work? Let's see. Here we go. If you want to take a quick minute here and answer the poll, that would be super helpful. What's the biggest obstacle preventing your org from getting value from AI? See lots of answers coming in. We'd love to get a quick pulse on where everybody's at before we
Yeah, I'm
start
kind of
taking
curious how
questions.
this lands because I think I know the biggest issues with this, but I'm kind of curious what everyone says in the chat there of what's the biggest obstacle there. So I spent like my last company, I spent 3 years basically that was my main job was taking data from other places and getting it cleaned up for AI and machine learning. And so I think I know the answer pretty well, but hopefully let's see what you guys say.
All right, well, let's close the poll. It looks like everybody's put in their responses. Do you see the
Excellent.
share? Yep, about pretty 31% governance, integration complexity, and data quality. Is that what you were expecting, Rob?
Yeah, that looks pretty good. So yeah, data quality is the winner there for sure. And then second, actually there's a tie. So integration complexity is a tie with data quality. Um, so those are definitely what I would expect. I guess there's a three-way tie, right? So we got a three-way
Yeah.
tie with governance, right? So all three are tied. And they look at that now. So
And
yeah,
I think you'll be talking a lot about this as you kind of go forward. So I'll stop sharing and we'll take it away with today's content.
sure, sure. So first off, the readiness gap is real, as you may know. AI and machine learning has been around for a little while, but a lot of the data that we have, it's a big gap we see just with a lot of companies where they record a lot of, they have a lot of data recorded for a long time, right? You have even call transcripts that are in a messy state that you may want AI to look at, right? You might have lots of things that are available, um, even support tickets, right? There's just a lot of the data that you have that you probably store, and you can now use AI or machine learning, whatever you might be able to like digest it and kind of get some insights out of it, right? So a lot of data out there, but it's not always in the right format. It's in various standards, so a lot of gap there. So um, in general, 80% of enterprise AI efforts go into preparing and wrangling data. I had a meeting just last week with a customer that was doing this pretty heavily, and he had a lot of his machine learning experts spending 80% of the time. And actually, this quote was independent of that. So Jill had this quote and this 80% like set up, and then this call I had on last week was he said the exact same thing. So it definitely was true in that regard, where these machine learning experts that are good at that, they actually had to spend a lot of time cleaning up data, just getting it clean so that AI and machine learning could actually process it properly. And I'm kind of curious, feel free to make some comments in the chat if you've experienced it yourself, or maybe you are in that bucket. Maybe you or your team spend a lot of time cleaning up data, trying to get ready for AI to analyze it properly. and look at it there. Um, and then also it's kind of garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you have things, incorrectly categorized or labeled properly, or the formatting is, off, then it can mess up all your output, right? So definitely want to have that cleaned up, um, and it amplifies whatever it's fed, right? So just garbage in, garbage out, but it makes it worse. And especially if you have smaller data sets, then it of course can skew it quite a bit more than bigger data sets too. Um, as far as the data mapping itself, I mean, if the stat itself, like 80% of your time is spent on cleaning up data, that's a lot of money. Like you think about the people that you're hiring now or are using to do the AI and onboard the AI and get insights from AI. I think all of these companies that were probably on this call and most have some AI initiative, right? Some spend they're going to focus on AI, but there's a big gap with just that how much labor and cost is involved in cleaning it up, right? Um, and this is actually kind of where Adeptia comes into play, where we are this tr intr intelligent ETL platform that's really good at taking messy data, unstructured data, and really figuring out what it is, and then helping you get it into the right format so that it can be processed properly. So, in the real world, there's traditional ETL is pretty much like structured to structured. It's kind of like, hey, I got this data here in this database, and it already has fields and tables and columns, and they're labeled okay, but it's fairly structured, right? It's like they've already got it there. And so an ETL platform is pretty good about that. Like traditionally, hey, we got database to database. We should, like move the data, maybe transform it a little bit. And that is kind of how it's been for a long time. ETL is generally a tool that a lot of IT teams use, and they're really good at it. They can use it. It's almost like it's semi-code based, like all the ETL tools in the past. And so what Adeptia has done really is really done a good job of taking these other messier formats that are maybe flat files, maybe XML, maybe Excel documents and PDFs. We see that a lot actually in the business world. I think every company uses Excel and every company uses it a lot, but it's very different, right? So one person adds a new column to Excel document. Well, that broke your whole mapping, right? The mapping you had before doesn't work anymore, or you have new data coming in from a new partner. They decided there's a new column that's more important because it's really important to have a new column. Well, all your existing ETL mapping is broke now because there's a new column in the middle, right? So all these formats change regularly, and so that change actually causes a lot of labor too in onboarding data and mapping consistently. Um, And also on the other legacy formats too, when you have like older EDI like formats and complexity and legacy systems, even like mainframe stuff. So we deal with a lot of these legacy environments where there's just an old way to do it, and it's tough to get that moved into a new format that's more modern, that's more AI friendly, right? So, as you may know, if you can get it into a JSON or a Markdown document, that's what AI loves, right? So that's the two new formats that I think we can all agree that AI likes to have it in. So with that's the kind of the pain, right? That's where legacy ETL and those traditional things don't quite help out because they're still legacy. They don't bring it to the modern age. So the new intelligent ETL is AI assisted. So we're going to help with the mapping piece of it, help when you have a new data set that comes in. A lot of our customers right now they bring in a lot of new data consistently, and so they want to have an easy way to like look at this new set of data, map it quickly, have some rules to adjust it, and be able to go through it quickly, not take months. A lot of our customers were taking 4 to 6 months to bring in data and clean it up properly. Now it could be internal data that's maybe just takes a while to like clean it up, or it could be external data. Either way, but intelligent ETL really is that next level where it's more friendly on just different data types and be able to ingest those properly. So then you're ingesting it, understanding it, mapping it, reviewing it. That's kind of the high level they'll cover on the slides here, and I'll go in the demo and kind of show you how that works in our product. Um, and it's not just automation; it's also like putting guardrails on there of what the format should be like and what it should be like in general. And then a lot of things we also do on this intelligent ETL, and this is one of my favorite parts, and it rings true with a lot of teams because right now, a lot of the business team, if they find, oh, this new data set we got has this new column or it's a different format or something's changed, well, now I got to put a request into the IT team to use their legacy ETL tool to adjust some code so that the data can actually flow again, right? So it stops the business team from ingesting the data and processing and using it, and you have to put it to an IT task. And IT has already got a list of things to do. Like we all IT teams have a long list of things to do, and then you're adding a list to that to these, experts that are good at code and ETL. Great, but they're limited on what they can do, and that resource can be better used. So we do a lot of helping the business users do that instead, right? If the business user can just have AI assist with mapping, then the business team can actually spend time, just ingesting that data. And it maybe takes just a couple days to like, or maybe a couple minutes, depending on how good, how different it might be versus in an IT backlog, right? That takes a few weeks or a few months to get that cleaned up, right? So that's one of my favorite parts. Industry examples for insurance, we do a lot of that. Enrollment is probably one of our bigger areas is insurance. So enrollment data, carrier data, onboarding, bring it in from different sources and cleaning it up, sending it where it needs to go. Financial services is a big one. Probably our top two there is right there. Um, we've got big names that use us regularly like Visa and Voya and AIG and a lot of the good ones there. So healthcare also. That healthcare is one of the big one recently that's got, this new FHIR standard, FHIR, and everyone's got to comply by the end of the year, right? So there's a new data format that I know a lot of companies we're talking to are having trouble with that. So we're working with that and helping them with that part of it too. And even, on the last part, suppliers. We've got a lot of suppliers that use EDI for transactions of manufacturing and shipping logistics that use that still. And so that's a different animal that it's a messy part of data that we can help transform.
Rob, just
Um,
quickly on that
yeah.
note, because I did notice a bunch of our attendees are in the education space. Have we had any experiences there or, things that come to mind in terms of education, higher ed?
On the education space, it's I mean, I guess from data's data really. So I definitely know that we can talk details in different insurance venues and financial services, but education, it's I imagine a lot of that data is more of maybe enrollment, right? So enrollment or education, maybe it's different data sets there for sure. We can definitely tackle the education piece too in my mind, because I'm kind of a data nerd, that's kind of who I am, I think. After I've realized that after years of doing IT, I kind of like that part of it. When it comes down to it, it's data, right? And it just has different formats of how it lives. So we can definitely help in using that however we need to.
I love that. Data is data.
Right. When it comes down to it, it's just, ones and zeros, right? But usually you have some kind of format that we can deal with. And so that's why we at Adeptia we do really well in these verticals, but at the same time, if a new vertical comes up, that it's still data, right? So yeah, we can know these very unique scenarios, but um, transferring data is almost the same in all these scenarios, all these industries. With that, I'll show a demo of Adeptia and how we can help in this area. So first off, um, as you log into Adeptia, we are very agnostic to whatever platform you have. So first, I want to kind of say that there's a lot of ETL platforms that are just SaaS based, where they're just you log into a website and you're on some cloud and you're just doing your thing, right? Well, we're actually very agnostic. We can host it, which is kind of like a SaaS model, but most of our bigger customers like to install Adeptia in their environment, and whether it's in their Azure cloud or their Google GCP cloud. And so we're very robust in that area. So you can install it anywhere you want. This is just but you interface it with within a URL. You log into it, of course. And the dashboard here shows you what's going on and what automations are running. You can look through all these things. Um, we've got a lot of AI initiatives that work really well. This one is one of my favorites where you can just ask AI about what's running. A lot of our customers have, one of them actually has 80,000 processes that runs every day, right? And so managing that and keeping track of that is a chore of its own. And so you can just ask AI questions about, what's ran yesterday, what ran today, what are the success rate of the data that coming through. And so AI can analyze all the logs, help you out with that. So that's pretty helpful, I think, on the AI front. Um, as you on the left side, we also have a lot of menus to be able to navigate right thing. The big thing that we like to go through is also design time versus runtime. And so we have a lot of AI tools that help you on the design time where you're kind of building the integration, you're figuring out how the data needs to transform and map. And so, but once you figured out how it needs to be mapped, you have to push it to runtime, right? The production level, we've got a lot of things running in the background that you need to run consistently every time, all the time. Um, and so we cover, we have a pretty big section for the configuration where we're basically helping you figure out how to manage the data and how to map it. And so one of the first areas I'll cover first is kind of how we take this messy data and how we have a lot of AI help to be able to clean it up and standardize it. So we have a lot of automations you can pick from. You can see a ton of them where we're moving data to Snowflake. Maybe we're taking it from a Excel document, what have you. Let me show you a quick example here of how we can help get the data that's more unstructured to a more structured format. So in this example, on the left side is kind of your target there where you can be a handful of things. But let me pull up this example here. And this is going to be a JPEG just because I can. But it also can be an Excel document. It can be a Word document. It can be a PDF. PDF is probably the most common scenario. And so on the left side here, we have an image basically of a hand filled out form that I filled out myself, right? And it's got, circles, right? You're circling things, you're sloppy handwriting, you're checking boxes, you're typing in numbers and different fields, and some of these fields are handwritten, some are typed to there. So this is example of kind of like probably one of the worst cases, probably where the formatting is not right. Now, with the traditional OCR, which has been around for a while, you have to define, okay, the state box is always right here, right? And if the state box moves over here, everything's broke. You have to redo the whole thing and build a new template. And so that is legacy. Now with the new AI front, you're having AI hunt down the data, right? So hey, the AI can find where is the state? What's the employer zip code? What's the address? That's the gender. So you're having AI hunt down this data, and this is very accurate. So you can imagine all those PDFs that you have to fill out and bring in. This is a good way to standardize in general. It's kind of the first step to get it from messy, like unstructured, to a structured, format here to clean it up. So once it's in that state, then you can do a lot more with it, right? Because then you can do anything else you want to do. The next thing I want to show you is kind of how the mapping works, right? So this is an example where, again, the left side are all the fields maybe you have in some kind of data set where someone gave you some data. It's got all these. It's got email. It's got addresses. It's got phone numbers. It's got whatever it might be, whatever structure it might be. And our goal is to map it to the right side, which is your target. What do you want it to be, and where's your normal schema, your normal layout that you want this data to be cleaned up in? And I ran this already, so it already has a map. But basically, I'll just show you what happens here. So you can jump in here and say, hey, I want to map all the fields. You can add some context to this. So when AI is going to look at these source and targets, it's going to say, "Hey, do you have any more info for me that I can use to help map this?" Right? So you're welcome to add maybe a document you have on what this data is. Maybe your partner gave you some info, some data, or you have some internally that, hey, this data is this data. This is how it's formatted. You can give it some instructions if you want. But oftentimes, we don't need all that because it's pretty smart on being able to figure out what the source data is and then also the target, and then a third step where it transforms it to however you like it. So as the AI goes through that, it'll crunch through it. And then this is again in design time. So what's nice about this, it gives you a confidence score. It shows the source, the target. It says, hey, this is probably the annual revenue, and the source is the annual revenue in this one. So um, it does a good job of mapping that. And then what's fun here is you're able to jump into these ones and make a change. Let's say you can maybe you want the format to be a little different. Um, maybe you want the format to be, if it's money, maybe you want it formatted with dollar signs and decimals. So you can jump into different scenarios and look at the details here and adjust that. So if I hit details, I can see kind of how it already mapped it. So this is how it explains it. There's some code in here. It does actually put the dollar signs and the commas in there, right? And what I like about this too is that it synthesizes the data of what it should be on the output. So it tests it. Hey, we expect the output to be like this. The output actually is there. Do you like that? Yes, right? So you can go through all of these as it builds it out, all these suggestions. And then once it's done, which is done now, you can actually, hey, I like all this. I'm going to accept all this, and I can now apply all these to the mapping. And now the mapping is complete, and now you have your map here. Now, this this tool, this AI mapper, we've had for 25 years at Adeptia, and our customers love it. Even before AI was involved, right? So before AI was involved, they still do this today. They go in here and they use this XSL code to map the field from left to right and do any transformations they want. So they're very comfortable with it. They love it. They've had it for a long time. We got big customers that still use it today and are growing and doing more with our tool. But now we don't have to have an expert that knows how to do this code. We can now just have AI do it, and AI nicely puts a comment in there of what it what it did and why, which is also helpful. So this is an example of how leveraging AI. Now we have companies that used to take 3 to 6 months to onboard new data sets regularly. Now they can do it in days or weeks, right? So it's a big time saver to get the data cleaned up for AI and machine learning and anything else, or just onboarding in general. And also in this too, you can have a data viewer, of course. You can see, as the transformation and mapping takes place, the data that we started with, which is some messy source data of some kind, is now mapped to how we want it, and shows, what we need. So um, that's our mapping tool. It's probably our most popular tool in general that we have at Adeptia. Now, overall, we do, just not just mapping. We do lots of things in place as far as grabbing data from different sources, and mapping it and having triggers to trigger how often it grabs the data, how often it pulls it. Um, and then the other area that is pretty big on AI that's really helpful with this is validating it. So once you have this, and you can validate before it comes in or after, but in this example, we can do it after the fact. So we have a whole set of AI business rules that can verify the data after it's been mapped, and you can say, hey, does it have all the criteria we have in there? Is it missing things? Is the format right? So this is pretty popular for, again, a lot of business teams that don't want to engage IT to get the task done or have to validate the data. A business team, and this is actually where an expert, that someone that knows this industry really well, like benefits enrollment, or maybe it's healthcare, or it's education. You know exactly the data should look like this. The data, and the criteria. You can actually build out these rules. Let me show you here some of these rules you can build out. So there's lots of data sets you can build, or rule sets you can build out. This one right here, for example. Um, you can write these in plain English, and it just writes the code to validate it. So you name it, this is a date of birth rule. You have some data that you want to like have this rule apply to. So you write this in plain English. Hey, check if date of birth is not future dated or empty or is in a valid date format. Just, plain English. Hey, check out the value here in this date of birth field. You can add more fields if you want to verify certain things. You can get really complex, saying, hey, date of birth is not future or empty, or maybe you can even say, hey, if this is a dependency, like this is a child of the parent, the child's date of birth can't be, greater than the parents, or less than the parent, whatever it might be. The logic can get really complicated if you want to. But basically, you write down whatever you want in here. Now, when you hit the next button, it actively writes Python code to be deterministic. So this rule is not, isn't going to change every time. It's actually very consistent. So it wrote the Python code. I can show you that if you want, but basically now you have it tested. Now you have this data here. You want to see if that date of birth is correct. So it's these both passed right here at the bottom, right? So both date of birth passed, not a problem. But if I try this sample and put some crazy year in there and test it again, it's gonna fail, right? So date of birth is not valid. And you can customize the failure messages as all you want. So this is again another tool that a lot of our custom companies like because they don't have to have an IT coder, some kind of data engineer tackle this. A business user that knows, hey, the date should be probably be not a future date and should be valid in these formats. Something that you can do yourself and be able to just make a bunch of rule sets and apply these to all the data, right? So that's a huge help, I think, in freeing up times with a lot of our customers. Now, I think a couple of our customers, actually, Voya and a couple other ones, they had big data teams that were doing this kind of thing. And this relieved a lot of those hours off of their workforce in general, having these AI-based tools just to save them time in general. So those are the main ways we use AI into cleaning up data and making it ready for the next step in the process. Now,
Rob,
in
there's
the
a
process,
question.
what's that? Sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. There was a question that came in that might be relevant here for a minute. I had someone ask if they can just add AI onto their existing tool set, whether that's an ETL or an IP or an iPaaS tool rather, and kind of what's the difference between how that's featured here.
Yeah, great question. And I get that a lot because you've already got a lot of things in place, especially, companies that have been around for a while. You have a lot of tools in place. So you don't want to mess that up, right? Hey, that works pretty good. Why break that? I only need help right here. So great question. We can go and go into one area if we need and just adjust things there as needed. So if you wanted to put us in the middle of a pipeline, I'll give you an example here of a process flow, just an idea of like how you can build this out. Now, we can bring the data from various sources. We can do our AIDP processing, which is that kind of the image processing or PDF processing. If you want to bring us in just for that one little thing, like you only want us to do this, right? I already got this figured out. I already got this figured out. I got this figured out. I just need Adeptia's AI help in this one area. We can do that. We're really good at connecting between whatever source you have and whatever target. So if you want just to come in that one little spot, no problem. Adeptia can do that one spot. If you want us to do more of the bigger picture and take the data from all these different data sets and send them on different other areas, we can do that too. So a good question because you don't want to just disrupt everything that's working well for you. You want to just, hey, fix that one issue that you're having. We can jump in there and fix that one thing and move along. Yep. Any other questions? Any comments? Anything else? Anything that popped out to you guys that anything resonate where you felt like, yeah, you're right. AI, getting data ready for AI and cleanup for AI is very helpful because it's time suck. Anybody else have any comments or questions that we can answer for you?
I think you covered it. The only other question in the queue right now is what happens if AI gets the mapping wrong and who catches that?
Good question. So on the mapping part of it, if it gets it wrong, there's two catches there. So first off, you can review this yourself if you want. So as the AI maps it and you go, hey, that's actually not right. Let me adjust that. You quickly just click on the one field that's having the trouble, hit the AI button. It'll say, hey, you want to map this one field? Yes, let's map this one field. You can then tell you, hey, fix this, whatever you want to do, and it just fix that one field. And you can test it again and do it there. So that might be caught by you as you're using the mapping tool because you'll just see it like, hey, that doesn't look right. The second way to catch it is the business rules, right? So after the mapping is done, it's got some data. And this could be after the data is flowing. This is actually more of a runtime production, right? So when you're running through thousands of data sets and all these data flowing through the system, the AI business rules can check, constantly to make sure that these data births, wherever the data is, that it's the right format based on your rule set. So AI is going to check there too. Other check there too, because this is like good question because it actually comes up a lot. Even in this section what we have here with it, where the more of the like the PDF or the image kind of processing, we have a whole section for um, reviewing data prior to it. So especially when it's new and you're not quite sure how certain it is, you can actually, every time it processes a PDF, you can have it send it to someone for review, and then they can click on it, double check it, make sure before it goes through. So lots of ways to get the human in the loop to make sure it's correct, and then turn on the system. And then when the system's on, you can have the other checks, like these are automated checks that can run against all the data sets. So lots of good ways to catch it along the way before it messes things further down the line.
That's great.
And with that, some key takeaways, I guess we talk about this as we kind of sum up here what we have. So, why does traditional ETL take longer than expected? We covered that pretty well. We've got AI to help us now to be more intelligent about what data we're looking at, how do we process it, how do we transform it, that kind of thing. The cost of manual data onboarding is pretty heavy when you've got your machine learning team or AI team kind of stuck in cleanup mode, right? Um, um, and really, a lot of good strategies here at Adeptia to be able to do this. One other thing I wanted to cover that I didn't cover before is more the templating piece of it, which ends up being pretty attractive. So once you've got these maps done or these certain things, we have lots of templates that you can build. So this is actually a way to enable the IT team to build a template. Maybe they don't want to do the same thing 100 times. They want to build it once or twice, clean it up, and then hand the template off to a business member that can just use it over and over again. So we have lots of templates where with a more maybe more veteran team that knows the data really well can build a template, can build a mapping that always works. And then you can hand that off. Maybe they're just changing they're just adding a new data set, but the data set's very similar, right? And the mapping's very similar, and so they don't have to do a whole lot. So that's very helpful. It's also helpful for a lot of partners to get involved. A lot of examples where we have some of our customers have their partners log in to a controlled version of Adeptia that has only what they need to see, right? So if a partner logs into your system, you don't want to see everything. You want to only see these certain things that apply to what they're doing, and so they can send data to you basically logging into Adeptia and give you just what you need to be able to, map the data and move it along properly. And depending on what it looks like, they could just upload it to the system, and then it automatically goes through one of the templates and then ends up clean where you want it.
So I think I'll just jump in quickly while we're getting back to the slides. I think if anybody has any questions, please drop them into the chat or the Q&A. I keep seeing a couple of hand raisers. I can't really do anything with that because we can't enable microphones. So if you do have a chat or a question, please type it in if you can. Apologies for that. While we're waiting, Rob, to see if any other questions come in, maybe just go to the last slide. Yeah, right here. If you have any questions, please tap them in. But a couple of quick takeaways for those of you on the line. Where as we follow up, we are going to be sharing a new what is Intelligent ETL guide. We encourage you to download that. As I said at the top of the call, we will be also sharing the recording with you. If there's something that piqued your interest and you'd like to request a tailored demo, you can go ahead and scan that QR code on the screen now. It'll take you to a quick form to fill out your information, and we can get you into the queue as soon as your schedule allows. So lots of great stuff coming out to support you in getting AI ready. And as Rob said, wherever you need that in your journey. One last question that came in, Rob, it looks like before we let everyone go is how long does it take to get up and running? And does it replace what I have today?
Great question. Yeah. So our professional services team is really good. So they just onboarded a huge customer. They're in the one of the top 500 on the SP 500 for example, but we got them all onboarded in 90 days. And so our general goal is 90-day onboarding for these. It can be even faster. We've got a couple of them done less than 30 days, but that's pretty rare. It usually takes about 90 days to get on there. And you definitely don't have to replace everything. So what you have, if you want us to, we can. But we can just come in. We kind of like the idea of crawl, walk, run, right? So we might need to just come in and solve the problem that's most important to you right now. And that might be just integrating, like just kind of before is just from A to B, I have this problem. I don't need A to Z, right? And so we can come in and just very particularly go into that one area that you need help with, and then let everything else still be in place. So leave your existing, whatever you have in existing there, you can leave those in place, and we can just help out where that one spot is. But if you want us to be more involved and be more involved in like other parts of where the data lies and how it cleans up and how it flows, we have a whole orchestration, as you saw in the process flow, where we can take lots of data from lots of different places and move them around. Like I said, we got some customers that have 80,000 processes that run every day, right? So a lot of big companies use us to move their data around a lot. A lot of, healthcare, a lot of insurance, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of financial data that it flows through our system. Very secure, of course, with all the compliance required for all that. We've never had a problem with that. It's kind of a joke. Like, hey, are you SOC compliant? Like, we're definitely SOC compliant. We got all the big boys. We got Voya and Visa and AIG, all the big names, in the financial world and the healthcare world. Um, we definitely pass all the checks on those areas for sure.
Awesome. Well, I think there are no other questions coming in. So we will wrap up a little bit early here. I'm sure nobody has any complaints about that. Rob, thank you very much for taking us through today's presentation and for that demo. And again, if anybody has any questions or follow-ups, please feel free to reach out to us at adeptia.com or follow us on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.